God. Going too fast. I'm taking 3.
Going for the singles now.
Oh, no.
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we're going to take a look at 2 clips. The first one, you can see we are in the beloved Dunkirk, and then of course we will move over into Tier 9 with the old Donskoi. Anyway, so no video yesterday, just simply, yesterday was the first of the month, and one of my good friends, Tom, he was moving, and of course I volunteered to help him move. And that usually moving is quite an ordeal. It's one of those things, I mean, it's been talked about before, but one of those things that I know a lot of people hate to do. I hate moving. The whole reason why I've lived in the same place for as long as I have is because I just don't want to move. I don't want to have to go through those struggles. Oh man. Anyway, it went fairly smoothly. I'm not a like a fit person. I don't hit the gym hard every day and all that crap. I'm not overweight by any means at all, but that took a lot out of me. And I basically came home, stuffed my face with some food, and then passed out. And then I woke up this morning at like 11 a.m. I think I slept for like 14 hours or something crazy. Yeah. But it's over. It's over. Don't need to worry about it anymore. But yeah, moving is one of those things people hate to do, but if a friend asks you to help them to move, you can't say no, right? I mean, it's your friend, of course. Those are the only people I help move, are my friends and my family. Anyone else can go to hell. Now, it's probably right, who else are you going to get to move you? I don't know. But I also have a whole lot of respect for people who work with moving companies, right? Those guys you see come to people's houses and just in one day they pack up the entire house and load it onto this big truck. That must be the worst job in the world. I couldn't do that. My back wouldn't allow for it. Anyway, here we are on Fault Line, and you can see I'm in the Dunkirk. Loving the Dunkirk. Thank you guys again so much for purchasing the Dunkirk for me here. Really, really awesome. And I'm still loving the Dunkirk. This is fantastic. We talked about it, I guess, some. I've been talking with some of you, I guess, about the Dunkirk and some of the comments and whatnot. But I'm really, really starting to appreciate the different battleship play style that the Dunkirk offers. I have the Bayern. The Bayern is fully upgraded. I just haven't been having great battles with the Bayern, and I'm slowly starting to hate the ship. And it's typical, for me, it's typical battleship hatred. It's big, it's slow, it just doesn't do the things I want it to do as quickly as I want it to happen. So I don't get any of that in the Dunkirk, though. What I get in the Dunkirk is stuff I'm a whole lot more used to. Sure, don't have that great armor, fine, whatever, but I've got speed, I've got some great reload on the guns. The Dunkirk has the fastest reload out of any of the Tier 6 battleships we have in game. Really good firepower. Like, again, we've talked about the dispersion in the Dunkirk video before, and we can see an example of it here, right? That wasn't so great in terms of dispersion, but again, it's a Tier 6 battleship. That enemy battleship out there, this is a bit of a distance away. I think it's at least over 10 kilometers away, so what do you really want? What can you really realistically expect from a Tier 6 battleship in terms of dispersion at this tier? I don't know where people get off saying, talking about how terrible this dispersion is. You can go to any other Tier 6 battleship and you will have complete full salvos shot at enemy players from, say, 18 the enemy's 18 kilometers away from you, and that if your Tier 6 battleship can even shoot that far, should be mentioned as well. But and you can have all those shots miss. So again, I just don't get it, but oh well, whatever. We're kicking a bit of ass here. You can see I do have some enemy torpedoes coming in. I do end up taking 2 of those torpedoes. Not that big of a deal. Able to repair the damage right away. load up the old heel, and we're off to the races. We see an enemy Nuremberg over here, and again, great maneuverability on the Dunkirk here. I'm easily able to maneuver in between these islands because of the good turret traverse speed on the Dunkirk as well. You can see it doesn't keep up completely in a full-on turn, but they are quick to come to your reticle when you come out of that turn, or at least slow down a bit out of the turn. Get a shot off there at the Nuremberg, do some decent damage, took out a turret, I believe, but you can see that some of my allies shot into the Nuremberg there as well and really did some great damage. Nuremberg, great tier 6 cruiser. I love my Nuremberg. In fact, I kept the Nuremberg because I liked it so much. It is not meant, though, to be this close forward without a whole bunch of support, right? You can see how quickly a Nuremberg can get focused down and gone. There we go. Player gone. Got a Citadel, and there's my first kill. About 23,000 damage. We're doing good. I mean, it's still the opening stages here. The enemies have already lost 4 ships. We've only lost 1 of our destroyers, so this is not too bad. If we do take a look at the minimap, we can see that the enemy team is fairly spread out, but to the same token, so is my team, right? We have players on the west side, we have players on the east. We did have some people in the middle there, but that's where our destroyer died. But thankfully, did manage to take out one of the enemy destroyers. We can see I'm putting shots off into an enemy battleship in the distance. I do notice, and I don't know if it's what it is, but it just seems to me that the Dunkirk does have a high chance of being set on fire, and it's the fire on the Dunkirk that I'm really concerned about, and I might start speccing my captain that way to reduce the fire damage and all that crap while you reload it, or repairs on cooldown. But I might just up the guns a little, because that was a pretty good hit there. I know I only hit 4 shells out of 8, but those 4 shells did hit and did a decent chunk of damage there, so that's not too shabby at all. We have some more enemies still, they're attempting to push up here on the west. Given that I'm kind of hovering in between the middle and the western side of the map, I am going to help support the allies over here in the west, see what sort of shots I can get off on these enemy battleships, and bring them down a little more, right? That's the main ideal. We can see a lot of my battleships, my allied battleships there, are really more on the front line, taking a lot more damage. And this, too, is a really good situation for Dunkirk. Because keep in mind, right at this point in time, I'm sailing broadside to these enemies. Granted, the enemies aren't broadside to me, right? So I only have to worry about the bow guns. But if I was the only ship here, yeah, the enemies are going to focus me down and I'm going to be gone right away. But I'm lucky and fortunate enough to have stayed with my allies, and now I have those allies on the front line, and the Dunkirk is sort of, close behind. I'm not even going to say the second line, really close behind. Because again, I don't want to encourage people to sit in the back and snipe. I hate this. Who was I talking to the other day? Someone in the clan, I can't remember their name, but anyway, they were commenting on how aggravating it is to see a North Carolina driver who has spec'd the ship out for long-range assaults, long-range sniping. And it is aggravating. It is aggravating because you get to the pivotal point in the battle where you need all hands on deck in order to take this cap, make this a pivotal push that is really going to secure your victory in the match, but you don't have everyone because you have the dense battleship players who are in the back, way away, I don't know, 20 kilometers away, trying to snipe. Bow on to everyone, just trying to snipe. And it's just so useless. So useless. You people can just get out. Get out now. Anyway, managing to do a bit more damage here to some of these enemies, which isn't too bad. More importantly, we really did blunt the enemy advance, right? We can see the number of enemy ships that are remaining. There are not a whole lot. I count 5 at this point in time, so we are doing pretty decently. We caught a quick glimpse of a cruiser over there who was on very little health and now is gone. We don't have to worry about this player. 4 enemy ships remaining. So excellent time to push in here, try and corral these enemies together so we can kill them quickly, or get into the enemy base and cap it out, depending on what we decide to do, in whatever seems to be most advantageous at the time. And this is another reason why I really do enjoy the Dunkirk here, is much like higher tier battleships, she has a good speed of at least 30 knots. She can get around the battlefield fairly quickly, and when you bring a 30 knot battleship down into tier 6, it's, I don't want to say a game changer, but it does offer you different opportunities to exploit and take advantage of that you wouldn't have in any other battleship at tier 6. I know the Bayern will do 25 knots, and I think that's the fastest at tier 6 right now, but there's a big difference between 25 knots and 30 knots. A pretty big difference. Plus, with the speed of the Dunkirk, you also do have the range of the Dunkirk, right? So it coupled together really makes some potent stuff, really has the potential for some potent damage to take place here. So, yeah, I mean, I love this ship. I just wish people would, take the time to maybe learn the ship or accept a different play style of a different type of ship. I mean, in the game, as World of Warships, as we know it right now, based on the information we have, we only have 4 classes: destroyer, cruisers, battleships, and carriers. That's what we've got. Now you can make the argument for battle cruisers, but in the simplistic, technical form that we have it in the game right now, those are the 4 classes. So I, welcome any type of ship that will offer a different sort of play style to one of those 4 classes, especially considering, we have a lot of the same sort of things going on with a lot of our ships, and battleships in general at this tier play very, very similar. And if you can get a different battleship at this tier to offer a different sort of play style, I'm all for it. Diversity is a beautiful thing, people. I don't get it. But anyway, kicking more ass here in the Dunkirk. We're at 46,000 damage, which isn't too bad. You can see easily able to dodge these torpedoes. I believe that enemy there, the enemy aircraft carrier, that must have been an auto drop, not a manual drop. We've got this enemy New Mexico off in the distance, and I was so surprised. I mean, you can see that I'm sailing broadside onto the enemy New Mexico right now, and this is a huge, huge mistake in the Dunkirk, right? Because she doesn't have the armor. That New Mexico could look at me and almost kill me in one salvo if he's lucky. What's saving grace here is the New Mexico player doesn't have the situational awareness to realize that I'm the closer target than my allied battleships, and instead this player is choosing to fire at my allied battleships and allowing me to just destroy this guy. So we've got the final salvos coming in, get the kill, but you do note there, just before my shots came in, one of my allied battleships did get some really nice hits on that New Mexico, and that's really what killed the New Mexico, but still, that player could have had me. But situational awareness, it is very important in this game. It's incredibly important. We do see the enemy Bogue, and this poor Bogue. I am going to keep my armor piercing loaded. I figure, what the hell? I mean, it's a Bogue and an enemy battleship remaining, so these armor piercing shells will either over-penetrate or I'm going to get a bunch of citadels. So I did a bunch of over-penetrations. Yeah, it still results in a bit of damage here, so that's not too shabby at all. Again, with the quick reload, compared to the other battleships of the tier, I don't have a whole lot to worry about because I'm going to get a lot more chances to get salvos off of this player. The only thing that maybe if I might have to worry about if I really, was hard up to get this kill would be my allies, right? My allies would come in and take the kill, but I don't care about that at all. I got another salvo there into the Bogue. I think it was about 9,100 damage in that salvo, so that's not too shabby at all. It was a lot of over penetrations, but still, 9,100, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to complain. There we go. Enemy Bogue is gone. One of my allies gets the kill. Fantastic. We only have one more enemy ship remaining. You can see I'm, in the enemy base, capping it out. It's the enemy Bayern. And, classic example. Well, not necessarily classic example, because the Bayern doesn't really have the range to sort of sit back and snipe, right? It's 15 kilometers, or 16.4, but that ship... he might have the range, because the range doesn't increase with the hull, but we'll say he has the range. So 16.4 kilometers. That's not necessarily sticking in the back, sniping it out, right? But is only the player, I'm sure, is only doing it because the Bayern doesn't have the range to allow for this player just to run away while continue to fire. But oh well, whatever. We'll get a few more shots into the player, hopefully get a bit more damage here, and get the victory that we want, right? Now, a lot of people, too, seem to take issue with the Dunkirk because the Dunkirk doesn't offer them a lot of damage, right? You're not every battle. You're not going to have like 100,000+ damage. And I understand the video that I put up, the first video I put out about the Dunkirk, did have over 100,000, but that really isn't a typical game for the Dunkirk that as I've been playing her and found out. She's fully capable. Like the damage that I'm going to end with in this battle, 66,000 thereabouts. That's really sort of where the Dunkirk fits in, like an average game. Like this is an average game for the Dunkirk, and there's nothing wrong with doing 66,000 damage in a game. I don't see anything wrong with it, and I still get rewarded a whole crap ton too, right? 324,000 credits. That's not too bad at all. 4,200 experience. I got the 3 kills. I got a citadel. We did shoot down some planes, but more importantly, 54 main battery hits, resulting in our 66,000 damage. Top of the team overall. Again, nothing to complain about here. Dunkirk is great, decent ship. I like her. She's good. Damage breakdown, right? We can see it did focus on the battleships for the most part, even though the Dunkirk has a really good chance of taking out cruisers. Just so happened in this battle, there weren't that many cruisers still alive by the time I was, getting in there and taking shots off. Alright, so moving into the next clip in the old Donskoi. Now, I'm going to say this right at the beginning. And I don't, it's annoying to have stupid comments in chat about the goddamn premium consumables, alright? I'm human, I forgot about it again in this replay, but you will see at the end of the replay, I make a point of recording myself going in, purchasing the consumable, or the premium repair, and mounting it to the ship, so there, I said it. Alright, anyway, moving on. On Islands of Ice. You may notice, I don't know, but we do have a subscriber, friend of the channel, on the enemy team, Bad Panda 15, in the old Montana. So this is interesting. I was very afraid. Very, very afraid, to be totally honest. The Donskoi, I do, actually. I am really starting to have a good appreciation for this ship at Tier 9. There's a lot that this ship is capable of doing, but to the same effect. The people have been saying that the Germans are the glass cannons. No. The Russian cruisers are your glass cannons, people. These things have, again, 100 millimeters of armor. At the strongest point on this ship, I have 100 millimeters of armor. One salvo from a Montana, a Yamato, and I am dead. Done. I won't even have time to press the precious premium consumables. Won't even have that option. I will be dead. So you really need to play effectively, I guess, and it does take time. If you do grind your way up through the Russian cruiser line, though, and then, like I did gain this appreciation for the Russian cruisers through the line, and I learned how to play them fairly effectively. And I really like these Russian cruisers. They're pretty great. Like I say, as long as you can figure out how to cruiser effectively, you are going to do well in these cruisers. And it's all about burning your ships down, or burning your enemies down, really up until you get to the Tier 9 at the Donskoi. Then you have the cannons of heavy enough caliber that your armor piercing actually becomes effective at further ranges, which is great. Especially when you want to pick off, say, a cruiser that's pretty far out from you, or you see another Russian cruiser and you know that you can just lob a few armor-piercing shells into that player, get yourself a few citadels, and that player will be gone. But yeah, there's that option. Now this game I had played a few days ago, and it was during the day. It didn't seem that there were to be many people on. I think this was the day that Battlefield 1 beta opened up. Not sure, but wasn't many people on, especially at the higher tiers, and it seemed like I was getting all these smaller battles, which was interesting. I don't really like these smaller battles when I'm going to play random battle, right? I like the smaller battle, like the 7v7 format for ranked battles and team battles and whatnot. I love that format. But in a random battle, I kind of want all those extra players, because I kind of use all of those extra players as shields and as fodder. So to try and lure the enemy into firing at my enemy and not at me, or at my ally and not at me. type thing. So that option right now is a little limited for me. A little skip in the video there. I was actually just press the Windows key to get out of the game to make sure I was remembering to record this replay. Anyway, I do decide to go to the north. You can see our team has basically split up. We have some ships heading down to the south at the sea cap point where we almost have that one captured. We already have allies at A who are capping this as well. The enemies do seem to be coming in force into the center of the map. This is dangerous. This is dangerous, especially when you're playing in these smaller formatted games. And why this is dangerous is because your team is split up and you just don't have as many numbers as you would if it was, a standard complement of players here. So you got to play a little more careful. And the enemies are, assuming they're all balled up into that one group in the center, like they seem to be, they will be able to choose which point they want to put pressure on, right? Now, obviously, this requires a bit of coordination, which this enemy team didn't really seem to have, and that attributes, I suppose, to our overall victory in this match. But still, good battle. I had to switch over to the old high explosive. I didn't think that I had, well, actually I had the armor piercing loaded because you can see there was only the one destroyer on the enemy team, and now that destroyer is gone. Shimakaze player, we don't need to worry about this player. The high explosive is still going to be good though because we do still have a number of enemy battleships, and I am keeping an eye out for Bad Panda because I did not want to eat any sort of Montana salvos. And there we go. We can see him right here. This is a great position for me to be in because I've got, good bit of cover and I'm sailing in the opposite direction. So I'm slowly creeping out of the cover. And as I'm doing that, the other player is sailing into the cover. So that player won't be able to get a shot on me effectively, whereas I am going to be able to get maybe a few pot shots off as that player sails on through, right? The captain on the Donskoi, my Donskoi here as well, is also retrained now, so finally I'm getting the benefits of Demolition Expert, so I'm hoping to get back to, games where I'm setting 19 fires per battle. That would be fantastic. You finish the battle with like 75,000 damage and fires. It is amazing. But anyway, we have the northern point. You can see the enemy is putting pressure on C, and we don't have a whole lot of ships down there to really hold that C point, right? I'm trying to get myself into a position where I am going to be able to push down into B because that's the ideal thing we want to do right now. My allies up here in the north, we want to push down into B and take B. Hopefully the enemies at B will see, well, hey, we're taking C, maybe it'd be better for us to group up with our allies down the south, essentially abandoning B, group up with them, and then push back to B, giving us the opportunity to swoop in and cap B, set up a defense, and hopefully prevent them from, counterattacking and coming back into the point. That would be ideal. The maneuverability on the Donskoi, as well as a lot of the Russian cruisers, I think all of them, it has a really, really slow rudder shift time, and it makes the turning radius of the ship horrendous. So it's actually counterintuitive for me in a cruiser to pre-plan my turns in my head before I do them, because I'm so used to the maneuverability that I can get really close to like an island or a landmass of some sort and then just cut out of it and be able to make this sharp turn so I don't actually ground myself. In this thing, not so much. It's not going to happen as often. I don't have the rudder shift time module purchased on her yet, so there's still that factor, right? I'm sure once I get it on there, it'll be a lot more manageable. I mean, it definitely was on my Chapyev once I bought that module. Chapyev became a whole lot more manageable. It's still not as maneuverable as my other tier 8 cruisers, but, she still is able to hold her own. Pushing into B here, right? A little leery about actually leading the charge here. Ideally, you don't want to have a Russian cruiser leading the charge because the Russian cruiser cannot take any damage whatsoever, and you're basically just throwing away a ship. But in this instance, I seem to be getting lucky. I do also have a rune behind me, which is great. I can really use the firepower of the rune to help me out here. We can see the enemy Tirpitz is gone now, which is fantastic. We don't have to worry about that player anymore. I believe the Montana Bad Panda is gone as well. We do have some North Carolinas kicking around, and potentially another Tirpitz as well, so that's not too bad. Yeah, there we go. North Carolina and Tirpitz is all we have left for enemy battleships, so that's not too bad. I can definitely deal with those guys. They're pretty far back as well. We just need to take into account the enemy cruisers, because the enemy still does have a pretty significant cruiser force here, right? We do want to watch out for these guys. Again, the armor on this ship is such that high caliber shells will just go right through the side. I will get citadeled and, will most likely take massive amounts of damage, which could kill me. We see the enemy cruiser off in the distance, enemy Chapiev, fantastic. I know that if I start launching armor piercing at this player, I am definitely going to get some citadels. I'm going to keep my high explosive loaded for now though, because I do have shots coming up on these enemy battleships and I wanted to set them on fire, load up the armor piercing, switch over to the cruisers. On top of that, the Chapiev has moved behind cover, so I wouldn't be able to get any shots off it anyway, and I'd rather be firing my high explosive at distance at these battleships than my armor piercing. There we go. There's another nice fire to the North Carolina, so that's not too bad at all. We can see that the fire is still burning. Great. Maybe we caught the player with his pants down. Maybe he doesn't have his repair off cooldown, and that fire should burn for its duration, which is great. Rack up some more damage, because it has been a fairly light on the whole damage so far this battle. To be fair, credit where credit is due. My team, right? These are the people I'm playing with right now, random people still, but we had some good things going on here, and this is attributing. I mean, when you have a good team, usually your damage numbers aren't going to be as high because everyone is really participating, right? If your damage numbers are really high, that usually means that it was just you who did something, or you and a few other people. But we have a lot of good people on this team. 4 citadel hits there in that one salvo, so that's not too bad at all. And you can see what I mean about the Russian cruisers, right? 2 salvos. So what's that? 7 citadels. Enemy Chapiev is gone. Fantastic. Took a total of 12 seconds to kill him. So you really, really want to avoid broadsides in those Russian cruisers. It's imperative that you do. And just as easily as I killed that Chapiev, if I wouldn't have been on the ball and firing at that Chapiev, if that Chapiev had armor piercing loaded, he could have done the exact same thing to me and killed me, because the distance was, close enough that, yeah, those armor piercing from the lower caliber guns are definitely going to penetrate and get my citadels, no question. There we go. Another enemy ship is gone. Fantastic. We have 2 enemy cruisers remaining, 1 enemy battleship. So we know we can see that this Tirpitz is remaining. That North Carolina is gone. My team focused them down, which is fantastic. We see an enemy cruiser off in the distance. I believe it's an enemy rune, and I'm not 100% sure what the second cruiser is. But oh well, whatever. We're gonna try and get these guys killed. I mean, obviously, we're going to win this battle. Things have gone very, very well. The team, again, the team. You can see as well, I believe, all of my allied ships except that one destroyer who were down there at sea did actually, pull out in time to be able to group back up with us and to join our push down here, all except I think there's a battleship running up the west side of the map that was able to actually get back with the group here and counterattack. So essentially right now the battleship on the west side sailing to the north, my ally, is really just stringing along that enemy Tirpitz, allowing my team back here to finish off and focus down and finish off these enemy cruisers, which is great. So we can see enemy rune. I have my armor piercing loaded up, obvious reasons. I mean, the rune doesn't have great armor. There's another enemy rune. Better armor than my Donskoi here. At least better potential to bounce and ricochet shells. I shouldn't say better armor because, to be totally honest with you, I can't recall what the maximum armor amount is on the rune. I'm assuming it's more than 100 millimeters, but I don't really know for sure, so there's that. Enemy rune is gone. Fantastic. I got another citadel on that rune as well, which gave me a bit more damage. That's great. We have 1 more enemy rune and the enemy Tirpitz, and then we'll be able to call the battle victory. Excellent. You can see as well, I do have some allies down here in the C point who are capping the point, which is fantastic. We'll, lock down the caps. 936 points, so battle is basically over. It'll be questionable as to whether or not we can finish off that last Tirpitz, because you can see we just took out that last rune. Fantastic. I wasn't too thrilled about having to go around this iceberg island majigger here to actually be able to go over and get shots on the Tirpitz, and the battle ends before I actually managed to make that maneuver, but whatever. It was a great game. Not too shabby at all. We'll take a look at the overall results here. We can see 261,000 credits earned, 5,200 experience, 74,000 damage, which isn't too bad. Not the best bit of damage here for the Donskoi, but still decent enough. 4th overall in the team, which isn't too bad at all. I'm happy with that. We can see how the damage has broken down here. Whole bunch of damage to that old chap. You have 37,000 on the nose, which is hilarious. And I do end up walking away with 216,000 credits, which was really important to me. And I don't think I took any damage in this game, actually. Very surprising. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to see modules. We're going to purchase the premium consumables so people will stop getting angry. I'm just buying the repair one. Just to tell you that now, alright? I'm not going to buy the premium defense, radar, or repair. I've got superintendent for those things. It'll give me the extra, and I know the cooldown will be long and unwieldy, but that's how I'm doing it. So there you go. Anyway, that is today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Remember to hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you were not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.